Ooh.
It's good. It's good. It's good.
This is Lilly Tino, also known on TikTok as Lilly Tino, and according to her, she is a trans girl on a mission. And if you're thinking, wow, James, didn't you already do a video on Lilly Tino? Then I would say yes, you're absolutely correct. However, I now have a lot more context to scrutinize things more clearly. You see, Lilly wasn't always trans. She wasn't always dealing with gender dysphoria. She was, however, dealing with body dysmorphia, like I said in the first video, but that's another story for another time. And the time is right now. You see, because in a news article by the Daily Mail entitled, Transgender Woman 29 reveals it took her 27 years to realize her true identity after drug use left her zombified. Now, it's safe to say, growing up in Atlanta, Lilly Tino did not have an easy childhood as she was bullied for being fat and flamboyant. Is this article talking about me? In the article, it claims that she never realized she was trans until after becoming addicted to prescribed Klonopin and smoking too much cannabis. Now you have to understand, there could be a conflict of interest when you mix a benzodiazepine with marijuana, because Klonopin is a prescription medication that belongs to a class of drugs known as benzodiazepines. It is primarily used to treat seizure disorders, panic disorders, and certain types of anxiety. No, I am not anti-marijuana. No, I am not anti-medicine. However, when you mix Klonopin with marijuana, you could end up with something called respiratory depression. Respiratory depression is a condition in which breathing becomes inadequate, leading to insufficient oxygen levels in the blood and increased concentration of carbon dioxide. It can result in slowed or shallow breathing and in severe cases be life-threatening. Not to mention, in some people, marijuana and THC more specifically can elicit extra symptoms of anxiety. In my opinion, Lilly has not always made the best decisions when it comes to her health, so why on earth would anyone trust her with their own health? Or the health of their children?
Hi friends! Today we're going to talk about something super important, what it means to be transgender.
Do I mind that someone who is transgender is teaching children about transgenderism as long as the parents consent to it and they have a well-understanding education in the background and might understand what it's like to be a trans child? No. Not at all. However, I have a major, and I do mean major, problem with Lilly being the one to do it.
It's a big word, but I promise that it's easy to understand. Ready to learn? The first thing I want you to do is close your eyes. Now think, do you feel like a boy, a girl, or a little bit of both?
Now, obviously, I was born a boy. However, I never felt like a boy's boy. I didn't play sports. I did play baseball, but I didn't like it. I didn't like being out in the heat of the South. I didn't like getting bit up by the mosquitoes, and I didn't like balls flying at my head. Well, not baseballs, at least.
Do you have your answer? Great. Now I want you to imagine that everyone keeps telling you that you're something else, even though in your heart, you know who you are. Wouldn't that make you sad inside?
Sure, a child could get upset that you tell them that they're something that they are not. However, it doesn't mean that they're transgender. Children all the time believe that they're superheroes. However, we don't, as reasonable adults, let them jump off a building assuming that they'll fly. That's why important decisions are important to make. And yes, I do think gender is an important decision to make with your child. And yes, I do trust that a boy tells you he is a girl and he feels like a girl, at least in that moment. I think feelings are important. However, not all feelings are permanent. And that's why when your child presents a serious topic like this, you talk to somebody that's been professionally trained to deal with it. Not doom scroll TikTok and take advice from an influencer who has repetitively made bad decisions and doesn't have the emotional understanding to understand why the decisions that they choose to make are problematic.
People who feel like this are transgender. And if you're not transgender, it's super easy to be friends with someone who is. Let's take our imaginary friend Theo, for example. One day you notice that Theo starts wearing girl clothes instead of boy clothes, and then they tell you that they want to be called Luna instead of Theo. This is so exciting for our friend Luna because they finally get to be their true self.
Or they are potentially going through a phase of experimentation, which is important in a young child's life to understand who they are as an adult. Now, statistically, the number of people that detransition is low. It's about 1% of the trans population. However, it is not zero. Therefore, it does not mean that just because someone believes that they are trans, that they are trans. And it doesn't mean that it's okay for someone to put on a friendly face and friendly music and tell your child they are what they are. Talk to a doctor, talk to a therapist, talk to anybody in the medical field that has an inkling of what they're doing, not an influencer that has vested interest in you clicking into their video. Hell, go to Reddit because all of the information that you could ever hope for is there, and those people aren't biased because they're not making money off of you clicking into their link.
And if you accidentally call Luna by their old name, make sure to say a big sorry and that you'll do better next time. As you can see, transgender people are just like you and me. They're our friends.
Yes, transgender people are just like me. They are my friends. However, you are not my friend. Therefore, you are not like us. Hashtag Kendrick Lamar. And the whole reason that this video pisses me off in the first place is because Lilly claims to be the trans Miss Rachel. Miss Rachel has dedicated her life and spent years educating our children. Lilly has spent most of her life doing illicit substances and farming people for money. Now, you could say that this video isn't targeting children. However, you and I both know exactly what it's doing. In my opinion, that is. In my opinion, that's exactly what it's doing. And do I think there's a problem with representation for younger audiences that might be struggling with some type of dysphoria? Absolutely not. My problem is with Lilly. Because how can they sympathize and relate to children that might be struggling with gender dysphoria when they were never a child with gender dysphoria? You see, in 2020, she moved to San Francisco to become clean of the drugs. And that's when she stopped in a Target and bought a wig and a dress and realized that she was transgender. In a 2018 study published in Pediatrics Journal, found that 60 to 70% of transgender youth experience severe gender dysphoria. Now, I understand that no two trans people are the same, just like no single person is the same as anyone else. However, in the making of this video, every trans person that I talked to knew since they were a child that they were the opposite of the gender that they were assigned at birth. There was no doubt in their mind whatsoever. It didn't take until they were 30 to realize that they were trans. They knew it since childhood, which I will say anecdotally, this goes to bolster the idea that children are much more cognizant of their own bodies than we actually give them credit for. However, parents, when it comes to the health and well-being of your child, no decision should ever be made lightly. That's why you need to talk to somebody that specializes in this and not just listen to some influencer on TikTok who has repetitively made bad decisions with their own life. Now, obviously, I am not trans. However, I would like to take a minute to highlight the voice of someone who is.
Hi, everybody. My name is Aria. I have been asked by Scapegoat to just kind of give my perspective and some answers on some questions. Let's just get started. I am a male to female transsexual woman. I am completely post-operative, so, I've had the surgery and stuff. And so I'll just give you my perspective, fix it in post. So to get started, a short story of who I am. I am originally from Utah. I was raised Mormon, so that's exciting. Had some challenges with growing up.
So now that we have the understanding that Aria was born a biological male and in a household that was highly, highly religious. At this point, I had asked her to help me understand what it was like for her growing up knowing that she was a girl.
I am one of the people that I knew that I was trans when I was four or five. Not that I was trans. There wasn't the terminology for that back then, but I knew that I was not what they said I was when I was really little. I used to get upset, like if they did something for my sister, not for me, because in context of they did it because she was a girl, And I was like, but I'm a girl. Why don't I get to do that? Why can't I have the thing? Or why can't I do the thing? And so it's weird because it feels like people are lying to you almost. Yeah, when I was growing up, it was just like, if you think it's not accepted now, really wasn't accepted then, and especially like in Mormon, Utah, and so I'll have people ask me sometimes, like, why I didn't come out sooner, and that's why, because I was like terrified that bad things were going to happen. So it was very distressing. So obviously dealing with the condition and then not being able to be who I was, I couldn't even tell anybody. It was really bad.
Which is sad that a child has to go through this, because the world was so much different when her and I were younger that you could not come out without the fear of being bullied or beat up. And there's no reason that a child should be afraid to be who they are just because society tells us that we're not normal. Now, honestly, it's hard for me to remember a time where I haven't been who I am. However, I never used to dress the way I do now. My wife and I have been together since we were 18. We're both 34 now, and my wife's brother is gay. However, my wife will tell you that I am the gayest person that she knows. So I can say without a doubt, I don't understand what it's like to be in the wrong body, but Aria was kind enough to let me know.
It's like, the best way I can describe it is that you know that you are something, but then everybody insists to you that you're not that thing. Just imagine that you are how you are right now, and everybody says you're a different name, you're a different gender, they make you wear different clothes, they do blah 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 blah. So that's kind of the experience.
Now, personally, I do tell everybody that I am a god trapped inside of a human body, and no one believes me, so maybe there is some common ground that Aria and I share. Aria is a person that I trust, a woman that I trust. She just happens to be trans. So I asked her what she would want kids to know from her experience in her own words.
And so the context of this, and I'm sure that Scapegoat here will go over for it, is there is a TikTok video of Lilly Tino where she is dressing up as a person that I've only just become recently aware of, which is Miss Rachel. She's describing being trans in a way that's like content geared towards children. She's acting like she's this person, Miss Rachel, and that she's explaining what being transgender is to kids and all this stuff. And so in that context, the next question here is, what would I like kids to actually know about being transgender? And so what I would say is that I would like kids to know that being different is fine. There's way too much bullying. Just kids are terrible about a lot of things, about things being different in general. It's not just like trans people. It's about like anybody who's different. I would want kids to know that, like, hey, it's okay to be different, and that you should have understanding for people and struggles that other people are going through. Just try to love everybody.
It's absolutely insane that anyone has to tell people to be a good person and love each other. Hell, even Jesus had to lay it out when he said, love your neighbor as yourself. Which means if you don't love people, then you don't love yourself. However, that love doesn't mean not calling them out for bad behavior. It means helping them understand their bad behavior. So I asked her to elaborate a little bit further on what she would want kids to know about being trans.
I feel like when you use terminology like I feel a way, it doesn't seem like it's very validating, because the way that I would put it is, I never felt like I was trans or felt like I was a girl. I knew that I was, and I didn't like need anybody to tell me that. And so it's not just like a feeling, I think. It's kind of like a core identity thing. And I get that, like, maybe we're using the word that way or phrasing it that way because maybe it makes more sense. Maybe we're trying to dull it down or something. Maybe the thing I would want kids to know is just to have empathy for people who are dealing with the condition, and just to be respectful. So if one of your classmates comes to school and is presenting differently, or they tell you that they have the condition, or something that they tell you that they're trans or whatever, to just, yeah, be accepting, have, just let them know that you're a safe person to talk to, and yeah, that's, just be nice to people. I don't really know what else to say. I would say that I prefer to view being transgender as a medical condition. And so I think you would explain it, and that this is the way I tend to explain it to people. So it's just like any other medical condition, like, hey, I've got this thing going on with me, and here's the details for it.
Now, I'm sure that Lilly would love to sell you a happy pill and tell you everything is butterflies and rainbows when it's not. This is a medical condition, and within that medical condition, there are mental disorders. The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders 5th edition, also known as the DSM-5, is a comprehensive classification and diagnostic tool published by the American Psychiatric Association. It is used by clinicians and researchers to diagnose and classify mental disorders. The DSM-5 provides standardized criteria and language for the diagnosis of mental health conditions, ensuring consistency and reliability in the field of psychiatry. At one point in 1980, the DSM-3, which is not the DSM-5, but it was a precursor to it, had determined that transsexualism was a mental disorder. For the DSM-4 replaced transsexualism with the term gender identity disorder in adults and adolescents. This was to reduce some of the stigma around being transgender. However, this caused a pretty major rift in the medical field because some doctors felt that this now labeled identity as a disorder instead of what it actually is. With the publication of the DSM-5 in 2013, gender identity disorder was eliminated and replaced with gender dysphoria. This change further focused on the diagnosis of the gender identity-related distress that some transgender people experience and for which they may seek psychiatric, medical, or surgical treatments rather than on transgender individuals or identities themselves. So to iterate it in a way that I understand it, transgenderism is the condition. Dysphoria is the disorder that comes with it. So while Lilly is over here telling you that you are what you feel, she is doing you a disservice by neglecting to inform you of everything that goes with it. Lilly is constantly advocating for gender reassignment surgery or gender affirming care.
I'm gonna get banned from Disney. I swear, we're about to get banned from Disney. Last summer, I got my cake pops removed, and the plan up until recently was to get my marshmallow wand reconfigured into a marshmallow tunnel. Unfortunately, a few weeks ago, I noticed some hair regrowth on my marshmallow wand. That's bad because the outside of the wand is what becomes the inside of the tunnel, so you don't want hair growing there, or else it's very uncomfortable. So I talked to my surgeon and he said that it would be best to postpone the procedure until after hair removal is complete. This is obviously disappointing because I was really excited to have a marshmallow tunnel sooner. That being said, it is still happening. We're just not sure when it's happening. Hair removal is a fickle thing and it's really hard to predict when it will finish. But my hair removal technician thinks it will be before the end of the year. So, fingers crossed. Oh, go. Want some? My mom's here, by the way. The marshmallow tunnel.
However, she is not telling you the processes that lead up to it. According to the World Professional Association for Transgender Health, on page 54, it states that sex reassignment surgery is effective and medically necessary. However, from what I've seen, Lilly does not tell you about the multi-year, multi-step process that it takes to get to this point. These are the mandatory guidelines laid out by the WPATH that anyone seeking gender reassignment surgery must adhere to. In order to even qualify for genital gender affirming surgeries, you must be at least 18 years old. You must go through hormone therapy for 12 consecutive months unless medically contradicted, or if there is documentation in the medical record explaining why hormone therapy is not part of the transition journey. You must be living in the gender role full time time for a minimum of 12 consecutive months while demonstrating the capacity to make fully informed decision and consent for treatment and the ability to comply with medical instruction. You must demonstrate the understanding of the surgery and the implications of this irreversible step while showing stable mental health, sufficiently self-aware, and successfully managing identity issues with depression. On top of that, you need 2 letters of referral from qualified mental health professionals. Now, this is a theory, not a fact, not something that I can prove, but a theory, a complete speculation. I'll ask this in question form. Do you guys think that it's possible that it's not the hair that is preventing Lilly Tino from getting her gender reassignment surgery? Or do you think there's a chance that she failed the criteria laid out by the WPATH about stable mental health? Because nothing quite screams stable mental health like talking about inappropriate topics around children at Disney. Or how about creating more and more sensational topics like Kurt Cobain being transgender so that you funnel more views to your channel, which creates more money for you in the long run? And I'm not the only one that finds stunts like this highly disgusting, disingenuous, and an overall detriment to the optics of the trans community.
I bet you didn't know that Kurt Cobain was probably trans.
The irony of you, Lilly, the person who has spent their entire time building their platform solely on the topic of being misgendered, turn around and pull a stunt like this. I would say that I am surprised, but alas, I've seen your videos. You're nothing but somebody who is all about the rage bait and the clickbait. All for what? A little bit of clout? Some of us are trying to show authenticity and trying to rehumanize the trans community, while you are trying to make a buck off of being nothing more than rage bait. I hope it's worth it.
Because you see, optics matter, and optics matter more in a marginalized group. Plain that the house is on fire when first you poured the gasoline and then second you struck the match to enlight the inferno.
My apology is that I didn't make more videos of Disney. I wish I had filmed myself more. I can see how much of a nerve that video touched, more than I expected.
Let me get this gay real quick, Lilly Tino. Now, instead of taking into consideration, maybe I crossed the line, maybe I was a little out of pocket with that video, you decided to double down while simultaneously admitting you're living for the rage bait, no matter whether it affects the trans community in a positive or negative way.
I think AJ is absolutely right here because in my opinion, with so many people from the trans community speaking out against Lilly Tino, who is she making content for? Because clearly it's not them. Because they're not the ones watching her videos. They're not the ones clicking in to see what foolish things she says or does next. Personally, I think that Lilly Tino knows very well that she is making rage bait for the people that are looking for a reason to hate trans people. Lily's not getting hurt out of this. Lilly is making money. The people that are getting hurt are the people like Aria. The ones that are getting hurt are the ones that just want to live a normal life but are being stereotyped because of the actions of Lilly Tino. Lilly Tino is not bad because she is trans. She is a bad person who happens to be trans. Now, if you're trans and watching this, I think I've been extremely fair in this whole video and I need to ask something of you. Please be patient with us because most people are good people and you might be the first person that they meet from your community, and your actions and the things that you say and do weigh heavily with somebody because you only have one opportunity to make a first impression. And most of those good people have been trained to think a certain way, specifically in stereotypes, that if somebody is black, they must automatically be a bad person that doesn't know how to speak English, or that if somebody is gay, that they must be leading a promiscuous, hedonistic lifestyle. And for someone to think this way in stereotypes is absolutely wrong. However, they are the victims of the same society that you are. No one has ever won anybody to their argument by yelling at them like they do on Twitter. Twitter is not the real world. People communicate through real life experience, tactile touch. And just like you're learning who you truly are, so are we. So how about everybody give everybody else a little bit of grace as we grow together, as we learn together, as we inevitably make mistakes and try to reconcile them together. And to everyone watching this video, whether you be in my subscriber subscriber base, or you just clicked into my video for the first time, please, for the love of God, quit calling Lilly Tino a man, because she is not a man, because she doesn't understand what it would take to step up and be one. And Lilly, if you're watching this video, this message is for you. It doesn't matter how much you try to make the outside of you look beautiful when the inside of you is hideous. Lilly Tino, welcome back to the fucking petting zoo.